Hey y'all, welcome back to Annie's Little Homestead. Today, we're going to install a new winch on my trailer. After destroying 3 winches from Harbor Freight in the last 5 years or so, we're going a different direction. Now, you might be thinking that that's because I'm mean to my equipment, that I abuse it and try and use it outside its specified parameters, to which I would say, shut up. Sometimes you got to force it, and if it breaks, it needed fixing anyway. In addition to the install, I got a few big old logs that we're going to get from my buddy Mike. I got to unload all this crap off the trailer, and today's just a big exercise in ADHD, which works well because I'm pretty sure I have that. There we go. I thought we were gonna have to chase a different squirrel today. For anybody who's wondering, my tie rod repair, it's still holding up. I've got the new one, but I don't really see a point of putting it on when this is working. All right, so now that we've got our wood all neatly organized, I'm gonna raise this thing up, pull the old winch off. Maybe we won't just yet. So I'm not entirely sure how I got these other bolts up in here, but they really don't want to come loose. I think I might have an easier solution though. Let's take a look at the new winch, shall we? So this is a 12,000 pound winch made by a company called Carbon. They're out of Australia. And I managed to let the box get rained on, but I'm sure that's fine because winches get rained on. So, you know, winch is in the box it's fine. Let's take a look. Like I said, my previous winches had all been the cheap Harbor Freight ones, and I've just broken too many of them to really justify buying a 4th one. The smart consumer will buy it, pay for the warranty, set a timer for 1 year and 364 days, and then return it for being faulty. Might be unethical, but it works. All right, so we got our winch, we got our control box. It came with a whole bunch of hardware. We got a hook, a fair lead, some cables, fancy remote clicky thing, and all that other fun stuff. So the first thing that we got to do, we got to mount the control box to the winch itself. It's got a few different spots on there that will let you do it to, so we'll just pick a spot and go with it. I looked at the picture wrong. Now I would actually be you know, reading the instructions instead of just looking at the pictures, but unfortunately they're all written in Australian, which seems just like English, but it's backwards because of the Coriolis effect or something. It's like the toilets, but we'll figure it out. All right, so the wiring is super simple. Yellow goes to the little yellow terminal. Blue to blue, red to red. You ain't got to be able to read instructions backwards to see that. So it's pretty straightforward. One of the things that I like about this is that unlike the Harbor Freight version where the control box can pretty much only go up here, being able to mount it offset from there means that when that ultimately gets bunched up, because I don't like, you know, feed it in right, it's not going to knock it off. Every Harbor Freight winch that I've had has been damaged by that cable bunching up, and it just pops the dang thing off, and I keep going because I'm not looking. And that sounds like operator error now that I'm saying it out loud. Now we're going to bolt it down, and there we go. Luckily all the bolt holes mount up. I guess that's kind of a universal thing. Didn't know that. Now I know it. So now we got to set up a way to power this bad boy. So I did a couple things. I went to Napa. I got a cheap battery box for a boat. Went to my buddy Tim's house. Y'all remember Tim. Stole the battery out of his non-running truck. We're gonna put it all together somewhere in this region. So I got my battery box here, and I precisely cut this piece of wood with a Sawzall. I got a pile of GRKs and I'm gonna sink them bad boys down and hook up the battery from there. We'll be in good shape. And there we go. Got it all wired up. Got a little battery switch in here. That's nice. Definitely better than doing it with jumper cables off the truck like I used to. So we're really moving up in the world. I'm feeling good about that. Well, I guess now's a good time to test it. Looks like a winch. That's good. So we've collected some crap along the way. We're gonna get everything cleaned up and then move on up to the front. I'm gonna put my hat under something. All right, so before we get going, we've got one other thing that we've got to do. We want to build a sling so that we can drag these logs up onto the trailer. We're going to go into it a little bit. I'm going to teach y'all kind of the right way to do things. Doesn't mean I've always done them, but I was a boatswain in the Coast Guard, so rigging was kind of my thing. First thing I want to mention, don't use your winch cable, winch rope, whatever it's got. Don't hook that directly to whatever you got. You start tearing up that cable and you got to replace the cable. It's a lot more expensive. I mean, if you're in a pinch, live your best life, but you want to have a sling in between what you're pulling and what you're pulling it with. So I'm gonna go over 3 basic options. The first is a chain sling. This is the one that was rigged up to the log tongs in the sketchiest way possible. Don't do that. The biggest benefit of a chain sling is that it's durable. It's not subject to abrasion. If it gets coated in oil, it's not going to cause any problems for it. It really is the most durable of 3 options, and it's very versatile. With chain hooks and shackles, you can rig it up all kinds of different ways. The second type that we're going to talk about is the synthetic sling, or often called just a lifting strap. It's incredibly versatile. You can rig it as a basket with the weight down there, just a single leg. You can have multiples put on a shackle, or you can rig it as a choker to hold down on whatever you're lifting. Each one has listed on it the different setups and the different working load limits. Now you might notice that on there the choker setup was actually the lowest working load limit, and that's for a pretty simple reason. That choke creates a pinch point, so this is not pulling vertically, it's pulling at an angle, which puts more stress on it. The biggest benefits of these is that for the amount of weight, the size of it, these are incredibly strong. They're super flexible, easy to work with, and again, super versatile. Biggest downside of them is that they don't have any abrasion resistance. They can be damaged by oil and other petroleum products getting on there, which this definitely has. And they can even be damaged by small bits of dirt and sand that work their way in there. They really are supposed to be kept clean. Those small little flecks of dirt can get inside and start tearing these just microscopic little fibers. And over time, that causes problems. Some of these are stiff and some of them are flexible. If you've ever seen a kinetic recovery rope, those are awesome. Wouldn't want to lift logs with that though. And the last one is the wire rope sling, or just a cable. I stole this one from Tim. Y'all remember Tim. And all things considered, it's basically a good in-between option. It's more flexible and lighter than chain, but it's more durable and resistant to chemicals than a synthetic. It's reasonably abrasion resistant and it's pretty durable. Now, while it's almost never done, these actually should be lubricated enough to where it actually gets all the way down into the core. There's different core types. We're not going to go into all that. With these though, you do got to watch out for fish hooks. Those little guys catch your hands. It feels real good. It's a fun time. So yeah, that's wire rope sling. Let's put something together. So we just went with this, a simple vertical sling. It should work to pull the logs just fine. Now this particular rule I've broken a million times, but everything that you use should have a stamped or plated or just somewhere on it the working load limit. And you want to take that into consideration when you're building whatever it is you're building. So the working load limit on the tongs themselves is 3,300 pounds, and I could have just put a choker around that ring, but that would have lowered my working load limit to 2,500. 3,000 is about the biggest log that I've ever lifted, but I don't need to just unnecessarily drop my total capacity. My buddy Shane stole this shackle off of a job site, and that's 4 3/4 tons. That one ain't gonna break. And this one I bought with money because I'm a good citizen. That's 3 1/4 tons. So basically our strap is the weak point. The total working load limit for this is whatever the strap is. I forgot already. 3,200 pounds. If you haven't fallen asleep or left by now, thanks for sticking around. We're gonna hook this trailer up, get out of here. Yeah, that battery's pretty low. Do this again. Mike told me this log wasn't very big. He lied. You think we'll be able to get the last one on this one battery?
If not, we're hooking up to my truck. We can always transfer it over.
Yeah, that'll work. We can make our own juice. Mike told me that he was going to charge me for the dirt, but he said I could keep that pile for free. He's a nice guy. Good guy. I'm honestly surprised that that friggin' junkyard stolen battery is holding up still. That's pretty good. We've got that's been about 70 feet of pull so far, so it's not bad.
That I can get away from the battery.
Oh, she's singing. That ain't going nowhere. All right, y'all. She did pretty well. So far I'm happy with that winch. Now, honestly, time is going to tell if it will actually hold up. I'm pretty good at abusing things. As with everything, I got to put the disclaimer in. I have never been one time paid to say nice things about a product, and this is not any different. But I think I'm going to have a little bit more luck with this one than I have in the past. I really wasn't sold on the synthetic cable, but one thing that I realized as it was pulling in is that a winch cable never really seems to go on perfectly straight as you're pulling. When it slips and overwraps and gets pinched and things like that, oh, that tends to damage a normal steel cable, but that doesn't have the same effect on the synthetic. Like I said, time will tell to see how it holds up. But I'm happy to have a winch on my trailer again. I appreciate y'all sticking through the boring explanation of different types of slings. As always, I hope y'all enjoyed and I hope you learned something. I love you. God bless.